You know, when you see someone walking a massive, muscle-bound animal like a 120-pound cane corso, the immediate instinct is to assume that handling it just requires brute force.
Oh, absolutely. The visual alone definitely suggests a physical battle.
Right. It looks like someone trying to drive a tank without power steering.
Exactly. People look at the sheer bone density and, well, the musculature of these guardian breeds, and they naturally assume the relationship must be a question of who is bigger, louder, and physically stronger.
But then you look at modern behavioral science, and suddenly that entire brute force paradigm is completely flipped on its head.
Yeah, it turns out successfully managing a powerful animal has almost nothing to do with wrestling for physical control.
Which is exactly what we're diving into today. Welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. We have our hands on this fascinating clinical veterinary transcript, and it breaks down the behavior, the neurology, and the trainability of the cane corso.
It really is a fantastic read.
It is, and our mission today is to explore how modern science completely flips the script on how to handle powerful independent dogs. We are breaking down outdated myths and discovering evidence-based strategies that honestly offer a masterclass in behavioral psychology.
100%. It's not just about dogs either. The mechanisms here are deeply rooted in neurobiology, which makes it so universally applicable.
Quick disclaimer check before we get too deep, though. As the source itself states, this deep dive is for educational purposes only. If you have concerns about your own pet's health or behavior, definitely consult your veterinarian.
Always a good reminder.
Right. So, with that established, you should prepare for some major aha moments today. We're going to explore why the most common advice you hear for dealing with powerful animals and maybe even people is entirely backward.
It really is backwards. And to understand why that advice is so flawed, we have to look at the origin of the whole dominance theory.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because for most of the 20th century, owners of large guardian dogs were handed a very little aggressive playbook.
Very aggressive.
They were told they had to be the alpha, right? Dominate the dog, constantly show it who is boss. Like that classic, completely arbitrary rule where you never let the dog walk through a doorway first.
Right, the doorway rule. What's fascinating here is how wildly misinterpreted the foundational science behind that alpha advice actually was.
Wait, there was actual science behind that?
Well, sort of. The entire dominance framework stems from this old, debunked ethological study on wolves in captivity.
Ah, right.
Yeah, researchers took completely unrelated adult wolves from various different zoo enclosures, and they forced them together in a highly artificial, confined space and just observed what happened.
I mean, treating a domesticated dog, even a giant Cane Corso like a captive wolf, is like assuming a normal human family operates like a group of hostile strangers locked in a reality TV house.
Yes, that analogy perfectly captures the scientific error. You're taking the psychology of a hostage situation, basically, and applying it to a family living room.
It sounds like a guaranteed recipe for severe behavioral issues, to be honest.
Oh, the methodology guaranteed a state of chronic stress.
Yeah.
The researchers observed this unusually tense, highly combative behavior because the wolves were violently fighting for resources.
And they labeled that the alpha hierarchy.
Exactly. They assumed this was the natural social structure. But decades later, when biologists actually observed wild wolf packs in their natural habitats,
They found something totally different, right?
completely different. Wild packs are just family units. It's breeding parents and their offspring working collaboratively. There's no forced dominant structure or constant fighting for an alpha slot.
And plus, a Cane Corso is a domesticated species. It's not a captive wolf.
Exactly. They are adapted to live alongside humans. They don't respond to a human trying to out-alpha them.
So when a human tries to physically dominate a 120-pound dog over a doorway, the dog isn't looking at the human as their pack leader.
No. The clinical transcripts indicate they just see an erratic, aggressive human. Domination doesn't create stability. It just creates tension and fear.
Which brings us to a really crucial pivot. If we are throwing out that whole reality TV survival strategy, how do you actually lead an independent-minded dog that outweighs you?
By making compliance genuinely rewarding. You have to replace dominance with consistency, clear structure, and positive reinforcement.
Okay, but I can hear people saying, sure, treats work for a golden retriever, but a giant, powerful guardian dog needs a firm hand.
I hear that all the time. The assumption is that big guardian types need force to be controllable, but the exact opposite is true.
How so?
Well, when you use positive reinforcement food, praise, play, fix, you're engaging their dopaminergic pathways. A dog that learns purely through positive association actually chooses to return to you eagerly.
So you want a willing partner, not one acting out of fear of consequences.
Exactly. If it ever comes down to a purely physical contest, the human is going to lose.
Oh, for sure.
So you have to build behaviors like solid stay or reliable recall in small, achievable steps. You only increase the duration or the distance or the distraction when the previous step is rock solid.
Building on that idea of creating a willing partner, how does reward-based training apply to the one thing this dog was genetically bred to do, which is guard?
Well, that's the thing. The guardian instinct isn't created by training. It's a product of genetics and history.
Right. They're always going to notice when a delivery driver walks up the driveway.
Exactly. Training just gives the dog a job during those unclear situations, like visitors at the door.
So a well-trained dog will still alert you. They bark, their posture changes, but then what?
But then they settle when asked to sit or go to a designated spot.
Okay, got it.
And this raises an important question. What happens if you never teach them how to settle?
Oh, wow. I imagine they just stay spun up.
Exactly. Without a clear release cue, like a calm, "that's enough," paired with a reward, the dog becomes chronically tense.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think of the genetic guardian instinct like a built-in home alarm system.
I love that comparison.
Right. Training isn't about unplugging the alarm entirely. It's about installing the keypad so you can enter the code and turn it off when your friends come over.
That is the perfect way to look at it. And the clinical transcript makes a crucial distinction here between true protective behavior and actual aggression.
What's the difference, clinically speaking?
Protective behavior is situational. It's proportionate to the threat, and it settles with information and guidance from the owner.
So they read the owner's calm demeanor and realize the guest isn't a threat.
Exactly. Aggression, on the other hand, is disproportionate. It's directed toward non-threatening targets, it escalates, and it's unpredictable.
And the source says that kind of aggression requires a qualified trainer or a vet behaviorist, right?
Definitely. Do not try DIY internet fixes for that.
Yeah, you don't mess around with a glitchy alarm system.
Yeah.
But what happens when that keypad suddenly seems to glitch on its own? Because the source outlines this dreaded adolescent phase.
Ah, yes, the teenage phase. Around 8 or 9 months, a dog with solid obedience at 5 months may suddenly seem to forget absolutely everything.
Is it really that they forget their training at 8 months, or are they just acting like human teenagers, actively testing the boundaries to see if the old rules still apply?
It's heavily the latter. They test boundaries, they become highly distractible. The brain is going through a massive rewiring process.
So the human instinct is to push back harder, but the transcript says the fix is actually going back to basics.
Yes. Go back to low distraction environments. Do not escalate the pressure.
And it mentions household rules, too. Like, consistency is the single most underrated training tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Allowing a behavior one day and correcting it the next just completely confuses the dog.
Because predictability is what produces a calm, confident dog, rather than an anxious, pushy one.
Exactly. A Cane Corso really thrives on clear expectations. A predictable environment is what actually creates stability.
Especially in multi-pet or kid households. The source had some really specific advice for that.
Yeah, with kids, they need the dog to have a reliable place or settle cue for those high-energy moments.
Right, the dog shouldn't be managing the chaos of running kids. And for other dogs, structured leash manners are way more important than natural chemistry.
Much more important. And for cats, they require a rock-solid leave-it cue.
You can't just hope a giant dog and a cat work it out organically.
No, absolutely not.
But, that intense craving for consistent household rules actually reveals a surprising vulnerability in these massive dogs.
It does. They look so imposing, but they are deeply emotionally bonded to their humans.
Because they were bred to be constant, close working companions, right? Not for independence.
Exactly. Which brings us to separation-related problems. Destructive behavior tied specifically to departures.
And the transcript distinguishes this from just occasional boredom-driven mischief.
Right. True separation anxiety involves excessive vocalization, pacing, drooling.
It's essentially a panic attack, so how do you prevent it?
You build alone time gradually from puppyhood, and a big part of it is ensuring that departures and returns are completely calm. No dramatic goodbyes.
Just keep it boring.
Keep it boring. And another huge factor is mental enrichment.
Oh yeah, the transcript was really clear about this. Short, focused training sessions, even just practicing known skills in new environments.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, training isn't just about obedience. It actually satisfies the breed's inherited genetic need for purposeful activity.
So, what does this all mean? It's incredible that a quick 10-minute mental workout of teaching a new trick can exhaust this muscular 100-plus pound working dog more effectively than just running them around the block.
It really does. Owners who integrate training beyond puppyhood get noticeably calmer adult dogs.
Hmm.
Mental fatigue is powerful.
It's a huge takeaway. To bring this deep dive to a close, we need to reiterate the core message from the sources today. The behavior of an adult Cane Corso says as much about the training approach as it does about the breed itself.
Absolutely. A stable dog is built through effort, patience, and consistency, not automatic shortcuts.
Old school dominance advice firmly belongs in the past. And for you listening, understanding these mechanisms helps us see past those outdated myths.
It shows how structure, clear communication, and positive reinforcement bring out the best in any learner.
Whether that's canine or human.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a final, lingering question for you to ponder on your own. It builds right on our first segment about that flawed wolf study.
Oh, I like this.
Right. Think about this. If decades of dog training and entire cultural mindset were completely derailed by one misunderstood study on captive wolves, what other common sense roles in our own human lives are based on equally flawed observations of subjects in artificial environments?
That is something to really think about.
It really is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.